only way that you could inspire people, as some of us who are obviously older were inspired during war, because recycling is not new to us, because we've been doing that for years. Obviously we were children then, but it was still very much part of how we were brought up, and it all seemed to go to pot in the 60s.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Caroline Lucas did quite a bit of work, did a report on this, of sort of reviving wartime spirit, thinking about recycling, but also particularly thinking about food growing. And we were, again, going around today talking about how, you know, this area used to be very much an orchard area. Large amounts of fruit was grown in this area, and, you know, you have the natural conditions for it. And yet I don't think I saw a fruit tree today. I mean, it's a bit hard to tell yet without any leaves on, but they certainly didn't see many, and certainly not commercial type fruit. And, you know, we actually need to bring food production back to Britain is one of the things I spend a lot of time talking about. And, you know, we're in the heart of what should be the absolute core of Britain's, particularly fruit, but also the arable growing area. And yet, you know, there's a statistic which I think is absolutely horrifying. Only 7% of the fruit eaten in Britain is grown in Britain. 7%. Now, what of course we've had for the past, since the 60s onwards, we've had a model that said, oh, it doesn't matter, we'll just buy our food on the world market. But there's actually, just this week, just a little story that's really, you know, starts to illustrate how we can't actually rely for our food security on saying the food is just going to be there and we can just buy it. If you go now into a supermarket, you won't be allowed to buy more than 2 cans of baby milk. And that's because, you may recall in China, there's been lots of scandals about milk powder and in China of being adulterated. And so the Chinese are desperate to buy foreign brands of baby milk. And so actually people have been going into supermarkets and buying in bulk here and shipping it off to China because they'll pay such a premium for it there because, you know, it's baby milk and they're concerned about their children's future, understandably. Now that's, you know, a small, rather isolated example, but it's just a little reminder about the idea that we think we'll always be able to afford enough to just bid to buy the food on the world market. There's no guarantees. And of course what we all need to do is we need to reduce the carbon footprint of our food. And so what we have is a situation now where we're shipping, you know, at the worst extreme, we're flying, you know, that fruit from all around the world here to Britain with a vast carbon footprint. And, you know, you can go into any supermarket and get any seasonal fruit that you can think of. And that just is not a sustainable future. What we need to be doing is eating the fruit and veg locally grown, ideally just from down the road. And, you know, it used to be each, and this is again where it's really useful, people who have memories of when it used to be like this, when you had a ring of market gardens around every major town and city. And, you know, the cabbage on your plate probably had, you know, a couple of food miles in it from the farm just down the road there that supplied your local fruit shop. And so that's the kind of thing that we need to go back to. And I think those memories of that idea, saying, you know, things changed very fast before, they can change very fast again. Those memories, I think, are really important.
Any more questions?
I'm sorry to say something again, but
yep.
I don't know if other people remember a programme on television years ago which we remember, called Dog Food Dan and the Carmarthen Cowboy. And it was pet food that was driven from Hull, if I've got this right, to Wales.
Oh, yeah.
And the other driver was driving from Wales to Hull with an almost identical product. And these two drivers met en route somewhere. And that highlighted, because we were becoming aware of the Green Party policy then of introducing locally, and that highlighted the ridiculous situation that we were getting ourselves into.
Caroline Lucas, when she was an MEP, did a report called The Great Food Swap, which analysed in forensic detail the extent to which we swap food within Britain and also with Europe. And I think my favourite statistic was about eggs going to Holland and eggs coming back from Holland, and it was virtually the same amount. It's quite extraordinary.
And I think there's ice creams. I think it was 100,000 tonnes from Sweden to Britain and back again.
Yeah.
Ice cream. You think of the carbon emissions of frozen trucks.
Keeping it cold, yeah.